Yeah, welcome everybody to another HVAC Insider Series brought to you by Breezy. I am your host as always, CJ Todd. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My friends, here at Breezy, we are dedicated to helping HVAC business owners like you thrive in today's competitive marketplace. And that's why we invite HVAC experts like Elise to share their proven strategies and insights designed to give your business the edge that it needs. So whether you're looking to boost sales or maybe improve operations or create a management team who runs your business for you, the HVAC Insider Series has you covered. I'd like to share a little bit about Breezy and what we are up to. We're hard at work creating a service titan alternative built solely for the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical industry. And our mission is very simple. That is to eliminate the off-season. We eliminate the off-season by working alongside some of the industry's most accomplished owners and operators to build CRM features that actually help you. Things like membership tracking, job flow management, real-time insights, and AI tools that are built to really take some of the strain off of you as operators and let you get down to the things that you know how to do best. And that is providing incredible service for your customers. If you want to learn a little bit more about Breezy today, you can scan that QR code, or I'll drop a link shortly. And, just give us the opportunity to chat with you. Absolutely no pressure. We just want to be a resource for you and learn how we can help support your growth. And now to the woman of the hour, Elise. Elise Radawitz is an amazing president and founder of Velocity Leader. She and I first met at EGIA Foundation and Women HVACR, acronyms are hard, tee off for the trades golf tournament. And she is not only an incredible leadership expert, but she's also one hell of a golfer, you guys. With over 10 years of experience helping HVAC business owners find success, Elise has become a trusted authority in leadership development. Just last year alone, she trained over 150 contractors. That's an incredible amount of touches to help people thrive. She is an amazing leader and leadership expert. Her mission at Velocity is very simple and very powerful, and that is to transform managers into confident, emotionally intelligent leaders who drive productivity, profitability, and team success. So if you love today's content and want a deeper dive, Elise is leading a 7-month, not 7-week virtual training series. Sorry for that typo, Elise. But it starts September 23rd. It runs 7 months. And this is a perfect opportunity to develop your middle managers from the convenience of your shop or your home. No need to travel, no need to take time out of your business. It is an incredible learning experience. And I've helped her promote this for quite a while now because I definitely believe in her mission and I believe in her. So you can scan that QR code. I'll also drop a link. But if you mention Breezy at registration, she'll give you $300 off of your registration. So we're going to be recording today's session. Don't take a bunch of notes if you don't want to. Just lean in and engage today. Really get a lot out of this next hour, and we'll have a live Q&A session at the end. So I will shut my big mouth, and I hope you can welcome me today in joining Elise Radawitz of Velocity Leader. All right, take it away, Elise.
Thank you, CJ. Appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to Breezy for just being an awesome partner and really having a mission that we have shared values. When I talked to Sean last week, just getting to know him and kind of his why behind the business, we just are very similar humans. But have a goal to create an impact in this industry and leave things better than we found them. So super excited for just this partnership and be able to have this platform and share some of the insights that I've had working with over hundreds of customers at this point over the years. So thank you, CJ. I'll give you a little bit of background to start and just to introduce myself a bit more than what CJ had already said. So the whole goal at Velocity Leader, why we're here, is we partner with companies specifically in the trades. That's the what, and I'll get to the why in a second because it is important. But we really offer coaching and training services, as he said, to engage, equip, and energize your teams for high performance. So the why, I only partner with companies in the trades. Why? My heart is with the trades. And I say that, so the cute person next to me on the screen is my husband. He is a carpenter by trade, has been in the trade for 25 plus years, started his own business 10 years ago. When I look at our closest friends and family, They are plumbers, electricians, roofers, contractors. My background is HVAC. I was on the distribution side for nearly a decade, and have been in the industry for almost 15 at this point, in HVAC specifically. So my heart, when I say that my heart is with the trades, that is why I started the company. I saw a lot of owners that started businesses with this great intentionality and wanting to serve their communities and give back, and really, go own their own freedom in a lot of ways. And so the other thing I want to do is be able to bring mindset and awareness and these pieces that maybe we didn't think about traditionally in the trades. I mean, so I grew up holding the flashlight for my dad too, and he was an engineer, so I never did it right, and got the elbow every once in a while. And I understand that we maybe didn't have the best role models for regulating our emotions, understanding why the heck that matters. So that's really at the core of what we're doing. So the picture there was from the ABC of Wisconsin skills competition. So I'm not sure if you have a chapter in your state. I'm from Wisconsin, and so that is where apprentices come from: carpentry, plumbing, electrician, and HVAC, of course. So it was really cool to see them do the skills competition. And then the picture on the left is when I did a leadership workshop full day for ICP Elite Dealer Meeting last year. So I've been really blessed to continue to have opportunities in this industry to really just help impact leaders. That's the overall goal in everything that I do. So a little bit about the why. Question for you. And I ask this at every single workshop. So I just like to understand my audience and know if there's any new kind of challenges that pop up. But I'm curious to know, what is your biggest leadership challenge? If you had to define it, I'm gonna give you a couple different options based on what I hear.
And I just launched that poll for you.
Thanks, CJ.
Absolutely. What are some of the challenges that you're experiencing, when you're doing in-person training and communicating with contractors?
So it's interesting. I will tell you that there are, moreover, the contractors that I hear are wanting to get out of the day-to-day challenge, and they want to be able to spend time with their people. They don't necessarily know exactly how to do that. And some of them even struggle with the fact of like, I don't even know if it's necessarily important. Like, I'd rather be doing other things in my business. Okay, well then how do you move somebody in a management role that wants to lead people and has that ability? And so those are a couple different things. I will tell you very bluntly, because that is very much who I am, direct. The contractors that say that their people are the problem, I've got news for you. It's really not your people. More often when I hear that in class, those are the ones that go, "Oh, it's not them, it's me." Right. The adage of like, what gets caught gets taught. How are you approaching your day? When challenges come up, are you negative, or are you looking at them as trying to overcome them and figure out what the opportunity is? Where's the solution? So that's just a little off comment I just thought I'd throw out there, because that's usually one that I hear and I go, ooh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
so after a minute of that poll being up, a third of our guests today said sharing a vision and setting goals is their biggest challenge.
Okay.
And Courtney in the chat chimed in, something that wasn't on there is creating new leaders.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah. We will address those things. And thank you for sharing and being open. And Courtney, I really appreciate the comment. Cause there is so much in vulnerability, and I can, talk about that in a different topic, but just being open and honest with your team and saying sometimes like, I don't have all the answers and I don't know, but I know we'll figure it out together, is one of those things that I've seen a lot of managers be really great at. So let me get there. I can see the poll now. Okay. So really what I hear most often, so this group is not totally different than what I hear from other groups, to be honest. So the first one I hear, or a lot of these come from, is the managing different personalities, getting the buy-in for new ideas, because it's not always. So this group may struggle with sharing the vision, and then I don't know if we offer experience that maybe people aren't as bought in as we are. And so sharing that vision and getting goals set around them can be helpful. We'll talk through that, keeping staff motivated and retaining them. And I can tell you how one of the ways to do that without necessarily paying them more, since that I know is a struggle for some of our small to mid-sized businesses, where we feel like techs kind of shop hop a little bit for pay. We can engage them by training and like giving them a career instead of a job. So we'll talk about that later on. And then delegating and letting more. Sometimes we are the problem. I think that one of the hardest things as a manager is to to have our employees do things differently than we're going to do them. They're never going to do it the same way you're going to do it. Even if you write the best checklist and take them like right alongside you, they're going to do things differently than you. Part of it is letting go and going, okay, as long as the customer experience is still the same, or as long as the employee experience is the same, I don't have to let go of, I don't have to be in control of anything. But I also completely, especially empathize with it now as a business owner, of letting go and really trusting your people. That's why you hired them. Let them do their jobs. So a little bit about that. Another poll question for you. Just again, curious to know. What do you think the most important relationship is that your employees have? Is it with the ownership? Is it with their manager? Is it with their coworkers? What do you think? I'll give you a few moments to do that.
Elise, I'll just jump in real quick. I added those 2 links that I promised you guys in the intro. I just added those in the chat. And yeah, it seems like after a few seconds, overwhelming majority think it's with their managers.
Oh, we have a smart group here.
Yeah.
You're putting together. So yes, it is absolutely your manager. And the reason, and it's not just me who says that, it comes from SHRM, the Society for Human Resources Management. Let me just click out of the poll here quick. Ooh, there we go. Okay. And yeah, it's really that you've probably heard the phrase that people don't quit companies, they quit managers. That is why having that manager or the right manager in that role is so critical, because those are the ones that are going to impact your people on a day-to-day basis. The interesting thing I tell new managers a lot of times is, do you know all your employees' names? Okay, sure, right? Check that box. Do you know their spouse, their kids, their dog, whatever? Do you know their names? Because I guarantee you that they know yours, because you're talked about probably at that kitchen table more often than you think. And so if you're able to know more about them, it makes it humanizes the entire thing. A mentor of mine said we're human beings, not human doings. And that's the part that I understand. We're here to have a job, but getting to know your people on a human level and understanding who they are is really critical. So US workers who say that their manager is not highly effective compared to those who said they have highly effective manager. Okay, the ones with the highly effective managers are twice as likely to feel satisfied and fulfilled with their jobs. They're twice as likely to have a sense of commitment and belonging to their organization. Sharing that vision is one piece, right? But helping the employees to understand how do I contribute to that vision? Sometimes it seems so huge and big, but you have to bring it back to their world and go, here's how you can impact the vision. Here's how you can carry out the mission of the organization. Here's why you matter and your role matters. And so that's part of the whole part of contributing to something larger than themselves. But the relationship that manager has with their employee is the biggest influence on them. And so as owners, and I'm going to get a little passionate about this, it's your responsibility to give your employees good managers. And part of it is, I understand that we maybe haven't had the formalized training in the past. Okay, well, let's not leave it up to chance. One of the big statistics that came out from a Harvard study was that 60% of new managers fail within their first 24 months. Now, there's a couple of reasons why, and I will definitely address those with the keys to unlock your managers from kind of being the firefighters, or even you if you're the owner. But the big thing is managers who lack self-awareness. If you don't understand how you operate, the kind of weaknesses or things that you're going to work on, right? It's one thing to say, okay, I'm not great at that, but to never ever work on it is going to be a problem. And so one of the biggest, that's where I start with every program, is understanding self-awareness. What am I good at? What am I not great at? How do I show up? What's my mindset? And we'll talk about a few of those things in a little bit. Empathy, when it's a one-way street. Empathy is something, it's a common mistake that we fail to communicate. We just delegate tasks, but we don't necessarily give feedback around those tasks. Next one, when manager or employee relationships are unproductive. That's a really nice way of saying when you have conflict, right? When you can't communicate with your employees, or when the manager can't communicate with the employees, there's going to be a breakdown. It's going to be a problem. And that's when conflict happens. We don't know how to give feedback, so we just don't give feedback, or maybe we blow up, and then it becomes a bigger thing. And then lastly, when the employee's work doesn't align with the goals. Now, what I mean by that is, okay, we set a vision, we share the goals, and then we let those employees, again, know how they contribute to those goals. I like to think of it as, how can I help you win? How can I help you succeed? That's where I want to understand. Or maybe this person isn't in the right seat that fits their skill set or their even personality wise. If I have somebody that's very introverted and I have them sitting at a home show, as an example, right? They're gonna hate that. They're gonna have very little energy. They're gonna feel drained or maybe really anxious. Like, I want to make sure that I'm putting people in the right seats to win. The other thing is, we can't expect what we don't equip. So if we are leaving it up to chance and just saying, well, this person's a great tech and they have a good, attitude and I think they'll be fine. Okay, but you're kind of hoping that like that them as an individual contributor role is going to be able to pull people forward, and that's not always the case. Sometimes we also put people in management roles that, have we ever asked them if they want to be a manager? Do they understand like the difference of, yes, I may be doing the work, but I also have to have people, I need people to come along for the ride. That's one of the other things that I see it missed a lot. So with all of that said, let's get into a little bit of problem solving, and I'll give you some strategies and some different tactical things that I've seen work with HVAC contractors in the last couple of years. Okay. First one, understanding the difference between leading and managing. This is one of those critical pieces, especially for new managers. Because the talent pool isn't necessarily there, we have to think about how we can retain talent and helping our people understand. And sometimes it starts with us owners. Like, are we leading or are we managing? Feel free, by the way, to take screenshots of any of this throughout. But the big thing, and I start with this for our new managers in our middle manager series, managing versus leading. So it's the day-to-day stuff versus the strategy stuff. And so I'm managing on the, and you should have a balance of this, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Management is really it's communication. Okay, am I giving feedback? And does this person know what's expected of them in their role? Decision making. Am I getting all the options and I'm making decisions and making them quickly, timely, doing those kinds of things. Managing my time. So am I handling, prioritizing tasks? If I can't do it well, how could I expect my employees to do it well? And I think a lot of times that was where I spent a majority of my one-on-ones, was talking about, okay, do I handle this project first? Do I do this thing? Like, help me understand where do I need to spend my time? And with managers, it's no different. Problem solving. So we're identifying issues, we're creating solutions. Those are all managing activities. On the right, we have leading. Okay, leading is going to be that leading or leadership kind of tasks are going to be more strategic, setting a clear direction, creating that vision, encouraging, motivating team members, having adaptability is a huge one as changes are coming through. I mean, I'm not going to talk A2Ls and all that stuff. We know that the changes are always coming, and it's how we bounce back from those, how we navigate through those. People are always taking cues from us as a leader. And so we need to be able to react in a way that is productive. And because that really sets the tone. It's another phrase is, so goes the leader, so goes the team. That's where adaptability and navigating change comes through. And then lastly, accountability. This is a big one. If you're gonna say something and do something completely different, or I'm gonna be a manager and I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna expect you to do this, but I've never done it myself. Not really good. You're not going to gain a lot of respect from your team. So those are some big pieces or differences between leading and managing. So all of that to say, I understand the juggle. It's okay. When should I be managing? When should I be leading? I only have 24 hours in the day, and I'd like to see my family at some point, right? I understand. I get it. So what I want you to think about is, where do you spend most of your time now? Do you spend it in, and just even writing down a piece of scratch paper, where are you spending your time right now? Take an inventory of that. Are you spending it doing the management activities or the leadership activities? Where do you spend your time every single day?
Or maybe some folks are still doing the actual work.
Oh, I'm sure that we have working managers constantly. I have service managers, install managers. Yeah, absolutely. So I want you to think about this. Get out a piece of paper, right? Draw a circle, create a pie chart. In the last week, how much time are you spending managing? How much time are you spending leading? And then the last question, if you were in control of your time, what should it be? And the reason I want you to start with this is just to start to take an inventory of it. If you're skewed one way, how do you backfill that? Because spending all your time supervising, like I get it, but you're not developing your people. And eventually your stronger people will leave you. Why? Because they want attention, because they want to be developed. Like the strong employees, the high performance, or we call them high potential employees in our HR world. When people stop stretching and growing, they leave the organization. And what we don't want that to do is we want you to be a well-rounded leader. And by wearing each hat, I say the leader hat and the manager hat, you're on your way to being more flexible and being great at both of those, because you do need both skill sets to be a really good manager. We just don't always necessarily take inventory or stock of that. So that's one tool or tip I can give you. The next one, understanding your communication style. This is a big one. I talk about this in DISC workshops with teams. As part of the leadership program that we do virtually, you get a DISC assessment. It's one of the behavioral assessments that I use. You probably have heard of maybe Predictive Index, Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths. There's a whole bunch of them, Colby, Enneagram. The one that I like the most, because it really is the most straightforward in my opinion, and I truthfully have done all of these on the screen because I'm a bit of a junkie. I like to learn about myself though. Like I want to understand why am I the way I am? And why do I lead a certain way? Why do I talk a certain way? I like to understand more about me. And so for me, that learning has been super helpful in really starting with the leader, and then giving the employees the opportunity too. It's a learning opportunity. So I'll briefly touch on DISC just because I want you to understand what it is if you've never heard of DISC. So it is a personal development assessment. It measures your individual tendencies and priorities. The other key thing I think it's really interesting for people to know is, do you know that your personality is set by the time you're about 17 years old? Your personality and your behaviors are pretty much established at that point. And so it really doesn't change too much. And really what we're doing in measuring DISC is we are evaluating your behaviors and others' behaviors, because if I understand me better, I can understand others better. I can understand how to communicate with them better. But first, sorry, leaders, it's an inside job. So much of what we do as leaders and managers, owners, whatever, is an inside job. And by that, I mean managing our emotions, our mindset, understanding where we communicate from. So I want you to think about this, and you can ask yourself these two questions, or you can ask these of people on your team just to sort of gauge where they may be. So are you, and you can probably already figure out which one I am, are you more fast-paced and outspoken, or are you more cautious and reflective? So one thing I can think, like, how fast do you walk? How fast do you talk? Those are some things you can think about. If you're more fast-paced and outspoken, you're probably going to be in the D or I range. And I'll tell you what the letters mean in just a little bit. If you're more cautious, go ahead.
If I had trouble enunciating women in HVACR because I was speaking so fast, I'm probably a D.
I mean, it could be an I. So D's and I's play well together because I'm an I. Shocker, I know. We are more fast-paced and outspoken. Our sense of urgency, our sense of action is quick. And so that's, yes, I'm just going to chalk that up to maybe caffeine. I mean, you have 2 little kids at home, CJ. You're probably just running on fumes at this point sometimes. So if you're more cautious and reflective, you're going to be an S or a C. And the other, you can really kind of narrow it down in another question, right? So 2 questions, you can kind of figure it out. All right, let's say a new project comes your way. Are you the person that comes up with a bunch of questions and you're like, hold on, I have questions? And that's totally okay. There's no wrong answer for the record. And I'll tell you why. We need all of the DISC styles. Now, if that other project comes your way and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about this. Like I'm bought in, let's go, let's start, right? Those are going to be on this other plane. So if you're more questioning and skeptical of something new, you're going to be more of a D or a C. C's tend to ask more questions. D's are just kind of more skeptical by nature. And I'll talk about that in a second. I's and S's are going to be more accepting and warm. Those are your people too. I's and S's are more inclined to work on tasks that involve people, projects that involve people. D's and C's tend to go towards more task-driven tasks. I know it's repetitive, but you're with me. All right, so a little bit about where you might fall. If you're more fast-paced and outspoken and also more questioning and skeptical, you're going to be a D. And I'll tell you what that means in just a second. And feel free again to screenshot any of this. Our D's are dominant drivers. They're very direct in their communication, short, sweet, to the point. Don't I just did this with a group last week, and one of the CEO said, "Don't bore us, get it to the chorus." And I was like, okay, that was a good one for a D. But they tend to come across competitive, strong-willed, very. I love working with Ds. That they work. I mean, again, I'm an I, so that pace is great. However, when they go home, my husband's an S. So I have to make sure that I turn that down a little bit. And I have to know that, as an example, I need to give my husband some time to think about a question I'm going to ask him, even if it's what's for dinner, right? Where do you want to go this weekend? Hey, and I have to use language where I'm more like, hey, I was thinking about, or what do you think about this? Okay, so for the record, I've probably already thought, 14 steps ahead, but that will stress the heck out of him. So I'm an I, high influence, outgoing. The I's are my gosh, the peopleiest people you'll ever meet. They are optimistic. We're lively. Like we're the ones that are planning a party for you. The S's are going to be your steady eddies. They are the very even keeled, very much a team player is an S. They are humble, patient, tactful, all the basically reasons I married my husband is all those things. I'm like, this is the yin to my yang. And then we have our C's. C's are the analytical ones. Like C's are, you're going to find them creating a system or a process or double checking. Like I like to work with a C because they double check my work. I tend to be the kind of big picture visionary a little bit. And then I miss some of the details as I go along. So I love working with a C. Traditionally in HVAC, a lot of S's and C's. It's a technical role for the most part. The actual technician part, I'll see a lot of S's and C's in those roles. But I also see those roles showing up in ownership because a lot of times it's technicians that opened up the doors to their own shop. Totally get it. Again, there's no right or wrong. We need every single style. If we had all D's on one team, nothing would ever get done because they'd just be delegating things all day. If we had a team full of I's, we'd never get anything done because we'd be sitting there chit-chatting and talking and, just, I don't know, daydreaming together. S's would never get anything done because they would be so, oh, no, you go first. Oh, I don't want it. Are you sure you don't want to take it? Are you good? Like they're always making sure that everybody else is good. And then C's, if the team was all C's, nothing would ever get done because they would be too busy analyzing everything and not moving forward and taking action. So I say that to be a little bit funny, right? But like, we need everybody on the team. And so if we can understand where we're communicating from, because we communicate from our preferred style. If we can understand that, then we can flex our style. Like I was telling you the example of my husband, I can flex my style to him to slow down my pace, to think through my questions I'm going to ask him because I know he's going to be more thoughtful in the response. On the flip side, if I'm working with a D, I know I can be very direct. I can be very blunt. I can give them a bulleted list. And I can also shoot them a text going, hey, what are we doing? And not worry about hurting their feelings. It's just, it's understanding how I can flex. If you think about it like a rubber band, like how can I flex to meet the needs of people in my life at home and at work? That's what I like about DISC. And it's a really great tool for us to be able to understand where we communicate from, but absolutely giving that to our employees it's a gift of them understanding a little bit more about how they tick. So I'll talk about that later on. Okay, the third key, understanding when your thinking is serving you and not serving you. In other words, how aware of you are you of your mindset throughout the day? How aware are you of your mindset? Some of us, not so much, right? I don't know. I just go through I'm just kind of on autopilot. Okay. So one of the things I want us to think about, this comes from the conscious 15 commitments of conscious leadership. It's called above the line and below the line. So I'll show you above the line for a second. Okay. When our thinking is supporting us and is serving us well, we are above the line. That's where we're in growth mindset. We're looking at, we're positive, proactive. We're in the driver's seat. Like the day is not happening to us. We're going through. So think about it like the ability to recognize thinking separates the good leaders from the great ones. How do we move through change? Okay, how do we move through that lead that we lost or that AC that showed up in that perfect box only to open it up and to have damage? What? The tech that called in sick. How we navigate these changes throughout our day can be rough or smooth depending on our mindset. Okay. And so I want you to think about that. When we're below the line, we're more reactive. The best way I can think about how I know when I'm below the line is I don't have as much energy. I'm lethargic. I seem to be a bit more pessimistic. And so I kind of be like, I think of it like, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, maybe that a little bit. And then I'm irritable. I'm cranky. And so if you think about this, like that customer that calls you with a problem, or that employee that stops in your office with an issue, if you're above the line, you're going to see those interactions as, hey, like, let's figure it out. Thanks for stopping in. Oh, hey, Mrs. Jones, sorry that didn't work out. You're going to be more proactive. On the flip side, if I'm below the line and I have that same phone call or that employee stopping in my office, I'm going to be really irritable. I'm going to not be super grateful for them or why they're calling or for their business or for them as my employee. I'm going to be really, for lack of a better word, just really shitty. And so what things we can do is there is something we can leverage called trampolines. One is, first we have to start by going, all right, am I above the line or am I below the line? And for the record, we are all allowed to be below the line at times. It's all good. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what's not okay is to be able to project that on other people is not okay. So one of the things we can do is the middle of here, we have a choice. We have a choice on recognizing, okay, once I know that, let's say I'm below the line, how do I bounce myself above the line? One of the things we can do is they're called trampolines. We can leverage trampolines. And so I'll give you a few of mine. For me, music is a huge trampoline. Like the fact that CJ picked that music at the beginning of this podcast or the webinar, I was like, all right, this is awesome. Gets me in the right mindset. Same thing if I need someone else's voice in my head, it's kind of what I say when I'm listening to a podcast. I listen to someone else and I tune it out and I go, okay, I'm gonna change my frame of mind. Nature is another one. I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna go for a walk. Maybe I say nature, movement, either way. Sunlight, that's another one that is really critical. And of course it's summer, not right now. So it's a bit harder in winter, admittedly. But in summer, it's a little bit easier to just sit outside and just be like, okay, I just need like a break. I need a break from these lights and the screens. And I need some natural light. All of that. What are some of those for you? And you can feel free to drop those in chat, but what are the things that you're thinking about, even as I'm sharing mine, right? What are some trampolines for you? Recognizing what those are, you can leverage throughout the day.
I think it's interesting that you bring this up because so kind of in vogue right now is like the morning routine.
Yeah.
But there's so much truth to it because if you can proactively put yourself above the line, you don't have to like roll the dice or
Right.
hopefully you figure out that you're below the line later in the day. Cold
Yeah,
plunge.
that is 1,000% the psychology behind the morning routine, because you're taking it from chance and knowing that if these are the things that help me be more of me and able to be more resilient and flex that above the line mindset, I'm able to navigate change better. That's one of the things I talk about in the program is what does a morning routine look like? And if you're not a morning person, how do you leverage that? How do you start your day in a way that you know is predictable and positive? I can't see chat. And I don't have that. Are people responding? I'm curious to know if anyone has other ones.
I think people are, kind of just hanging back and listening to all the good value bombs you're dropping.
Okay.
Morning prayer from Jennifer Kilburn. Thanks, Jennifer.
Totally. And prayer at any point of the day, truthfully, doesn't have to just be in the morning. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. The next key is understanding how to build trust. And in building trust, I'm going to talk about it from within first. It's self-trust. If I can't trust myself and my decisions and holding promises to myself, like a morning routine and sticking to it, we can't necessarily, it's very hard if I can't trust me and my decisions, and it's hard for me to give that to somebody else. So I need to be accountable to the promises that I make. And if I don't do that, how could I expect others to do that? So that's really where making sure that you have the right people in your management and leadership roles is critical, and understanding for them how to build trust from within. So this comes from Brene Brown. I have a ton of the content that I have in what I teach is Brene Brown, because she's got the leading research on all of this in terms of just mindset and psychological safety for teams. One of the things, and that's a buzzword in and of itself, so I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Psychologically safe team is it's the foundation of trust. If I can be at a place that I know that I can take a risk and my boss has my back, or the people that I work with have my back, that's the foundation of it. And the hard part about trust is it can't really be boiled down to, concrete behaviors. It's hard because trust is one of those things that's like, I think it's like an abstract feeling. So one of the ways that Brene Brown talks about trust is she explains it in this way. She uses the acronym BRAVING to describe really what are the elements of trust. And the first one is boundaries. Am I setting boundaries? Right? Am I putting them in place, and am I holding myself to them? Or am I blocking my calendar, which I've completely been guilty of, is putting time blocks on my calendar and then dragging like the block from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to maybe, right? Okay, at times we do that, right? Reliability. Did I say what I mean? And did I follow through on that? The other one, accountability. So am I holding myself accountable? Am I doing the things that I said I was going to do? Vault, am I sharing respectfully? And am I not oversharing? Integrity, that's the other one. One of her famous quotes is, I choose courage over comfort. I'm choosing what's right over what's fun, fast, or easy. And so if we think about in the program that I lead, we talk about values and establishing those for ourselves. And part of that is, am I practicing what I preach? Or am I just professing my values and I'm not actually living them out? Non-judgment is the next one. So non-judgment, and did I ask for what I needed? And can you ask for what you need without me judging myself or judging others? And then the last one is generous. Generous, and I like to say, like, giving yourself grace. Like, was I generous with myself? Did I give myself the best of intentions? And so I asked this again, we're going to start with self-trust. And so in a moment, I'm going to show you on the screen a self-trust checklist. And it's just kind of a quick think about the last couple of weeks. And what I want you to do is to be really honest with yourself and say, okay, over the past 2 weeks, which of these behaviors can I say I leveraged? And I'll go through each one and I'll read some questions on it, because I think it's a really great way for you to just check in with you. How's it going? Okay, so the first question, did I respect my own boundaries? Was I clear about what's okay and not okay? The hardest part about establishing boundaries is setting them and then holding myself to them. R, was I reliable? Did I do what I said I was going to do? Again, we're thinking about the last couple of weeks. Did I hold myself accountable? Did I respect the vault and share appropriately? Did I act from my integrity? And again, that's choosing to do what's right over what's fun, fast, or easy. If you think about it, like I can't think of it, delayed gratification. So much of us want that instant gratification, but did I delay it to do the right things, the things that are actually going to move the needle in my business, whatever, move myself towards my goals more, personal or professional? And did I ask for what I needed? And was I non-judgmental about needing help? Sometimes the hardest thing is just to say, hey, I need help, right? And then not feeling judged about it. And last one, was I generous towards myself? Listen, we're all flawed humans. We're all works in progress. We're going to get it wrong sometimes. And as we try to put new behaviors in place, we may fall on bad habits as we're establishing new ones. Part of it is, okay, did I give myself grace for that? So as I say this, my guess is, and I've never had anybody out of the years I've been doing this, I've never had anyone say all of them are checked. Guess what? Welcome to being human. If you have a box that's unchecked, it's an opportunity for you to lean in to go, okay, how can I get better on that? It's an inventory, it's a start. And so that's really what I'm encouraging you to do with this, is just understand where you have opportunities to grow. It's simple as that. Okay, the fifth key, understanding how to give meaningful feedback. One of the biggest ways that we can help people grow, that we ourselves can grow, is to ask for feedback and to give feedback. And I'll address this really. I mean, the first thing I would like to know, and you can absolutely use this in chat, right? How many people are maybe are uncomfortable giving feedback? How many people are uncomfortable getting feedback? What's your biggest challenge when it comes to giving and receiving feedback?
I
I'd like to
think
hear it in the chat.
for me, I think it's like I'm such a big relationship person, and like if I'm thinking about kind of critiquing or like giving criticism of someone's performance, am I hurting that relationship? How do I do that in a respectful, kind, like way that helps develop that person and maybe makes our relationship stronger? I think I'd kind of that's a challenge for me.
I hear that a lot. A lot of times. So yeah, CJ, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to be, or I don't want to be not liked, or I don't want the conflict or the potential conflict of it. Or I'm just really crappy at it and it's awkward and it's uncomfortable and I stumble over my words. All of those things are like, that's what I hear commonly. It's very much human. It's all good. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to let's explore that a little bit more. So trust and giving feedback. Remember, one of the keys is establishing trust. The biggest prerequisite to giving feedback is that you have trust with that person. Because if you don't have trust with that person, then all you're doing, and I learned this at a marriage conference at our church, unsolicited advice is not a gift. That's what I learned. Where my husband quickly looked over at me and I went, oh, shit, okay. So I'm a solver. I like to fix problems. I get it. Not all of us need that. Sometimes we just want to be heard. Some of us just want to vent. But the biggest thing is otherwise what you run the risk of is giving unsolicited advice. And that's not no one that if I didn't ask you for it, I don't want it. Right. But if you're coming from a place of that you care for me and you're giving me this feedback because you're going to help me grow. Okay. That's a little different. And so that's the shift I'm talking about with, okay, if we are uncomfortable, totally okay. If we are uncomfortable with it, let's shift our feedback on why we're giving it. Okay. Because if we care about the growth and development of the people in our lives, hey, I've had people in class that have written down statements, feedback for their kids, for their spouse. We don't always, I mean, again, we don't have to just keep in the workplace, but you can think about this. If you're a leader and you're leading people and you're not pointing out things that they need to work on, you're not helping them grow. And there can be like huge limiting things to this. Like I had a colleague that I worked with who shared with me that some feedback, and she was like, I want to get close to you, but I'm nervous that you're really, I've heard you say things about other people, like you're really close with so and so, and you've overshared some of their story, and I didn't realize that. And she goes, and I'm nervous to get close to you because of that. I think it's awesome you have these relationships. I want to make sure that you don't overshare. And while the feedback was hard to hear, I needed to hear that because that is a huge career limiting thing. If I want to be in a leadership team and if I want to have the confidential conversations or trust of the president or leadership team, if I overshare something, and I had to do some reflection on that, going, well, why the heck am I doing that, right? Well, part of it is the relationship. I want to prove to you or share, like, oh, I'm really close with this person, right? Even though the feedback was hard to hear, I appreciated her telling me because I knew that it's a huge issue. And how many people had probably thought that before, but never had the courage to say it to me. And so that's one of the ways that we can look at that as a gift. The other thing I want you to think about is, and this comes from Zach Mercurio. He just wrote the book called Mattering. Don't expect your feedback to matter to someone who doesn't feel like they matter to you. That person in my life gave me feedback because they cared about me, and that's how I received it. And so how many of us are making giving and receiving feedback part of our day-to-day environment? So just a thought, right? How many of us are giving feedback to someone, and we know that they care about us first and foremost. So I have the gift idea here. What I want us to do is to think about, rather than receiving feedback or even asking, giving and receiving feedback, I want you to think about it as I am receiving this as a gift. Thank you for the feedback. That's my default answer when someone gives me feedback, whether I agree with it or not. Thank you for the feedback. And one way I want you to shift to thinking, if you're like, I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to hurt their feelings, think about it as a gift. I'm giving you this feedback and it's a gift. And if you go into the conversation with that intention, your messaging, your nuance, your tone, all of that's going to show up in a way that should be well received. They may disagree with it, for the record, right? Like just because you see the world one way doesn't mean that it is always that way. So the way that the formula that I use to teach this is the FBI feedback formula. It's 3 parts. It's very simple. Feeling, behavior, and impact. Why is that not showing up? Did that come through? Okay. Feeling, behavior, and impact. So first of all, we can use that formula with either type of feedback. So there's 2 different kinds of feedback. The first one is growth feedback, and that's a behavior that we want to be changed. The next one is recognition feedback. So that's behavior to be continued. So if we're uncomfortable giving feedback in general, I would say start with the positive. Start on recognition feedback, that we want a behavior we want to be continued, like celebrate something about somebody. Start with the good. Once we get good with that, we can start asking for some growth feedback from people too and giving it. So let me give you an example. Okay, so meaningful recognition. I'm starting with the positive. Jason, thank you for staying late last night to clean up the job site. It made it home, and it allowed me to make it home in time to see my son's baseball game. Okay. So I have the specific behavior. The more specific we can get on the behavior, the more impactful it's going to be for the person. I don't know about you, but I've received feedback before. I got a handwritten note from the president of the organization. Hey, Elise, keep up the great work. And I was like, okay. The problem, like, I thought it was cool. He clearly took the time to handwrite this. Awesome. But I looked at it and went, I have no idea what you saw, or if like a customer said something, or if somebody else, a manager said something. I had no idea what I was supposed to be keeping up. Like that's the part is I think some of us, and I've heard this from other managers, I'm really good at giving feedback. But if you don't have the impact part of it, then people may be receiving your attaboys or attagirls, like, thanks so much, right? Or thanks for everything you do. Doesn't really hit the same. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't hit home with them. If you can talk about the feeling, even if it's as simple as thank you, right? The part that a lot of times we miss is the ripple effect, the impact. People need to understand that their behavior has an impact on other people. I think about this a lot because I say this a lot as a parent. I need you, like, you're not the only person in the world. Like you say and do things and it affects other people, right? And if we can help people connect the dots, because sometimes we ourselves are guilty of it. I have blinders on, or you get your feedback from somebody who's like, hey, I didn't really like how that interaction went, or I felt like you were mad at me. Oh, really? Wow, I didn't know you felt that way. We have blinders, and we can be guilty of that too, like having blind spots. And so with feedback, it's the leader going first. Do you have the guts to ask your team, what am I doing that's helpful for you? What am I doing that's not helpful? Sometimes we don't ask the question because we're scared of the answer. And now those are easy ways where you can just say, hey, I want to understand. Give me some feedback. Cause I'm guessing they're probably talking about it. Seems to be the dumpster behind the shop is a pretty good place for that, when they're emptying out their vans. If they're talking about it to each other, but not to you, that's a problem. Start asking, even if you're scared to know what the answer might be. It shows that you care. So let me give you a couple tips on how to receive feedback well. Because again, leaders go first, showing that we lean into the cringe and uncomfortableness, right? This is one of those opportunities for us as leaders. So as I was saying before, verbalize your response. My default answer when someone gives me feedback is thank you for the feedback. Because here's the thing, how I react to someone giving me feedback is going to determine how likely they are to give me feedback in the future. If I blow up and I'm like, you're wrong, F you, whatever, right? They're probably not going to respond, and they're not going to give me feedback in the future if you get instantly defensive, okay? The other thing, put the feedback into practice. If you asked for it, then be prepared to work on it. Not saying you're going to fix it in a week or a month, but bring it up again. Hey, just so you know, I heard you last time, we're working on this, or I'm going to have this conversation with someone, on one of the other managers, whatever the case might be. When in doubt, ask questions to understand and lean into curiosity rather than judgment. One of the things that I'll do is I'll try to ask for, can you give me specifics? Can you tell me more about what happened? Then I'm able to understand, and because I'm really trying to come from a place of curiosity instead of judgment. Again, just because they view it that way doesn't make it so, but ask questions to understand their point of view. Because here's the thing, if you give them feedback, I'm going to want this is a two-way conversation. This is a two-way street. So I'm modeling for people around me in my life how to receive feedback well. In that, recognize your emotions. Be aware of your body's reaction to the feedback. If you're getting this like heat in your chest and it's kind of going up in your neck and flush across your face, probably getting mad. Okay, be aware of that. And if you're not able to gain control of your thoughts or emotions, practice a timeout. I know that sounds, I get it, but like, hey, this is becoming unproductive. If there does get conflict, maybe it comes from the employee that you're giving the feedback to. Hey, this is not becoming super productive, and I want to make sure that we're able to just kind of let this be. Let's table this and talk about it tomorrow morning. I've had managers say that just because sometimes the text can get, anybody can get defensive about it. The other thing you can do is practice a pause. Sometimes a pause, a deep breath, just pausing and being quiet, thinking about a question to ask, can give us enough time to be like our bodies to just to come down. Because here's the thing, our brains don't know the difference between a social threat, like someone giving us feedback and we're going, oh crap, I feel like I kind of feel crappy about that, versus like a bear that just charged into my office. Like your brain reacts the same way. It's that fight or flight mentality. If we can pause and we can recognize that, we have the opportunity to lean into curiosity rather than judgment. And the last thing I'll say is, if we are feeling defensive and we're almost gearing up a little bit, is my need to be right more valuable than what this person's telling me? The last key, understanding how to identify talent. You probably have people on your team that you think are awesome, right? How do I develop it? How do I do it? Okay. A few of the key characteristics that I've seen in my almost 20-year career in HR is we have people that we call high potential employees, hypos, we call them. Typically, they exhibit a few of the following traits. First one, of course, they consistently perform well in their current role. That's a given. But do they demonstrate a drive for growth and development? Like, are they a learner? Do they want to learn? Are they looking for opportunities and ways to learn? Do they live your values? If you've done the work of establishing a mission, vision, values for your company, you best be hiring, firing, and rewarding to that. Values are something that are super important. Do they live it? Are they an example of it? Right? Are they on board when change comes? Because man, I want them to be a positive change agent. I want these to be the people where, hey, we're rolling out this new spiff, or we're onboarding the new CRM. What do you think? What objections am I going to get from the rest of the staff? I want them to be my sounding board and my positive change agents, but I want them to be real with me too. Leadership is about behavior. So the other thing that I want you to be recognizing when we're looking for talent and how do we develop it is, are these people managing their own emotions under pressure? Are they the ones that are, if they are going through conflict, they're not dealing with it using aggression or violence or silence, because that could also not be great. They just shut down and get quiet, and they're calm. And by that I mean like they're really calm. It's not like they're not like the duck on the water that's very chill, but like underneath they're like paddling like hell. No, they're calm. And they're saying, okay, we'll figure it out. You do this, you go here, just stuff happens. Okay. They put others' needs before their own. They seek to understand more than being understood. And how do they do that? By asking questions, by not talking over people, not letting their ego be at the driver's seat. It's really they're seeking the greater good rather than what's best for me. The other thing we can do is utilize assessment tools. So I think about Breezy and the data and all the statistics they have. And I was talking to Sean, the KPIs and the scoreboards and all that stuff. We have those things. If we've done things like a DISC assessment, are we using those to understand people's strengths, to put them in the right seats? If we can have data-driven decisions, then it's less about CJ being a great guy, and he is, but wouldn't we rather know that we have data to back that up? And then we can give each team member a plan to develop them based on their own skill set, their own goals and desires. That's really the key. What we're trying to do is provide a career, not just a job. Okay, if you're at A and I want to go to B, how do I get there? How do I help you get there? That's the conversation we need to be having. And it's a starter. It's a start of how why do you think about like the last person that left? Why did they leave? The last person you onboarded, how did it go? Right? Are we giving people a career, or are we giving them a job? Are we investing in their growth? because we can't always pay them more. That's I mean, we can give them spiffs and different incentives, but at the same point, like, are we putting them into training classes? Are we sending them to, how do they like to learn? Understanding these people, the people that we work with, is huge. Okay, I heard about this recently on a podcast and I needed to add this. So I want to talk about delegation. When you delegate tasks, you create followers. When you delegate authority, I am giving you the decision-making rights. You create leaders, because what we want is, the difference is, here's how this sounds. Here, I'm going to delegate a task. Do this thing this specific way. Giving authority sounds like, here's the project. I trust you to figure it out. Let me know if you have questions. Like, to me, it's those managers that empowered me to, here's the ball, take it down the field and run with it. Literally, like, take it and go. I trust you. You got this. It's different. Then they're not always, I mean, will there take a little bit of time in getting them onboarded or getting them up to speed on that new task or that new thing? Sure. But if they know that they can fail and you have their back, it's awesome. So I want to focus on developing people. The people around you don't just need direction, they need belief, they need development, they need the opportunity to rise. You don't multiply by doing more yourself. I promise you, you don't, even though it's super hard. You multiply by raising up others who can think, act, and lead with excellence. How would you rate yourself? Are you a follower or are you a leader? Are you simply leading followers? Or are you a leader focused on developing leaders? Sorry about that. So a couple closing thoughts. Who are you building right now on your team? Are you building yourself even? Who are you investing in that can become a better leader themselves? Are you surrounding yourself with people who elevate you? Like, growth isn't an accident. It's the result of an intentional decision to shift from doing to developing. People, like, we don't just lead people, we build people who lead. There's a difference. So, and maybe you're sitting here going, I don't even have people that report to me. Okay, if you're an individual contributor, are you developing as a leader? What do you need help to do? We have programs that we can meet you at every level, whether you're an emerging leader just starting out and you have, maybe you have goals to be that, or you're sitting here as an owner going, I need to develop more leaders, but I need them to be really awesome individual contributors and I need them to understand what that leadership mindset looks like. That's what we have in the Developing a Leadership Mindset program. The middle program is Maximize Your Impact. That's the one that starts in fall, and I'll talk about in just a second. That's for new managers. I have install managers, service managers, GMs, all of those in there. And then lastly, everything disc workshop. If you got something out of the disc conversation earlier, this is an opportunity for you to invest in your team and help them develop, help them understand more about who they are, and create ways for them to communicate better as a team. I'll skip this for a second. We do, basically, I'm going to skip this really quick. Hold on. If you liked today, this is basically everything I did today is how I do it virtually or in person for your team. That's the style. So what I want you to do is, if you have any interest in joining us in fall, starts in September. We meet twice a month. We do 2-hour live instructor-led, this exact format, and I lead it. Then we meet again 2 weeks later and we do a 60-minute small group coaching. Why? Because it allows us to ask questions, try things out, come back and be like, well, that failed, or hey, that actually worked out pretty well. And so that's what that looks like. I limit the class to 12 people because I want to maximize the amount of interaction. And I know that sometimes it can be scary to come into a virtual environment. And so I really am cautious about how many people I invite into the space. I have 4 seats spoken for right now, so I have 8 remaining. I just strongly encourage you I try to keep the price point pretty affordable. But that's about what I have to offer. And yeah, I will bounce it back to CJ.
No,
Thanks, everybody.
thank you so much for that amazing content and that amazing offer, Elise. It's always great to, welcome you onto these shows and have the incredible engagement that we do. I want to open it up now for question and answers. I know we're kind of limited on time, but there are still quite a few people left on the call. I have, like you mentioned, Elise, just having the data and making the right decisions is important. So if anybody on the call would like to, understand how Breezy can help you kind of get some of that data, learn what to do with it, and maybe plug into some of your, already existing processes, or maybe supplement what you're going to do with Elise. I'd love to, have the opportunity to reach out to you guys and chat. So if you want some more information about how we can, help you lead better, just go ahead and click yes on the poll, and we'll reach out afterward. If not, no worries. We'll see you next time on the next show. But Elise, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I know working with business owners, over the last 6 years in this space, like a constant feedback I get is, oh, we're just putting out fires. Like, how do we take time to invest in leadership? Like, how do we create leaders? Because it's just chaos, chaos, chaos. What kind of advice do you have for those folks?
The first question I say is, how's it working? If it's not, if you're not enjoying how it's going, then start by changing something. The reason that I do what I do in leadership development is that there were times in my life where I went, this isn't working. I got to fix, either I got to start the morning routine because I don't like who I'm showing up as at work and at home. And I was being a version of me that, whew, man, I was going to end up probably getting fired or being divorced. And I just, it's comes down to priorities and who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a person? What do you want to do? And how do you want to show up? And it starts with us doing that for us. The business will continue to be there. The challenge is it's taking the time for you so that you can show up, man, differently. Because I will tell you that the people that do this work show up differently. You can tell. And as I have managers going through the program, they're like, wow, it's pretty loud when I see and hear people that are not progressing and not developing themselves. It's loud. You know why it's loud? Because you're doing the work on yourself. And it's a pretty stark contrast to people. It's almost like the good managers and the bad managers. There's not like an in between. It's good and bad. And you can almost put a line down the middle of the paper. I would say it comes back to priorities and values.
There's a good quote. I don't know if you brought it up today or not, but people don't leave companies, they leave leaders. And I think that, everything that you've said today just could be kind of synthesized into that. And, taking the time to invest in middle management, in leaders, in the like the top level of that hierarchy that people see every day. Like, do these folks have my best interest in mind, or are they just trying to wring as much value out of me as possible and send me home a husk? Like, I mean, I think we've all experienced that. So what are some of the biggest mindset barriers you see in maybe existing HVAC managers or maybe new managers, and how do you help folks break those?
The biggest barrier I think is fear. And fear can show up in a couple different ways. Well, their excuses, or what if I try this and it fails? What if I try this and I get rejected? What I mean, you think about like how often are you trying to, let's say, get a technician to offer multiple solutions, right? Well, good, better, best. Well, what if they say no? What if they say yes? Like what if you offered value? It's so often our minds are the biggest hindrance of why we don't do the thing that we need to do, and we distract ourselves doing other things. So I think fear is very real, and that self-limiting belief, like that inner talk, like that inner talk track, I'll say, is usually one that keeps us playing small, thinking small, not trying new things. And we have to start by recognizing that that is super, it's human, it's part of the deal. Our brains are wired for comfort and familiarity. So when change comes up, a new idea, a new anything, the first thing we're going to have is fear. I can't. Okay, stop. But what can you do? What's the next best thing we could do? I mean, think about your to-do list, right? Sometimes it feels daunting and I avoid that thing. That comes from the book Eat the Frog. You do the hard thing first. Start putting it into smaller chunks. And that can be some ways that we get through that. And it's creating those little wins for us. It's a lot of it's brain hacking, honestly.
So we can remove the legs and fry those up in a nice sauce and eat those, and then the arms, and we can break it down into chunks.
Yeah. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly.
Uh, what did Damon just put into chat? I'm looking at that. It's a
It
common
is
dilemma.
oh
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, it's a common dilemma. How do you advise a manager who's reluctant to fully develop their team's potential because they're afraid of those highly skilled individuals that will seek higher pay elsewhere, or maybe they'll seek their job? Like, how do you kind of
You
work around that?
listen, people are going to do what they're going to do. Whether you try to, you can't control somebody else. So I know it happens. My husband did it. He was working for a company and then started his own. I get that it happens. I would say that that is short-sighted thinking. I understand the dilemma of a manager who's reluctant to develop their team, but what if you never develop them and they stay? They're going to do what you're going to do anyways. You may as well do it to get them to the better version of them because we owe it to them. I guess I would flip it on them and say, okay, you're afraid that they're going to leave, but what if they stay and we don't develop them?
Right.
If they're leaving for pay, that's start by having the conversation to understand what are they doing with that pay? What's the why for them? Part of that is going back to, okay, but why are you doing this job? I mean, you're coming here every day. You could do anything you want. Why here? If you can understand the motivation for people, some people definitely they're money motivated. I get it. Some of them it's work-life balance. What is it? I think it's definitely a common dilemma. I would agree. I just think I'd try to understand the why. I would always invest in them because it just so many people are never told that they're like good enough or can do it, and they have a manager that believes in them. Man, I'm telling you, you're gonna retain them for longer because and really it's doing the right thing. Okay, invest in them and they leave. All right, well, how you handle that says so much about who you are as a leader, and a person.
That's incredible feedback. And Damon, I think back to one of the most incredible leaders I had the opportunity of working for in Silicon Valley, and his philosophy was, and I was an intern in the company, and his philosophy is we're developing strong leaders who can go out and raise the whole industry, right? And I'm not training them to retain them. I am training them to leave. And I know that's a scary thing to say in this space, particularly because labor is at such a shortage. But like when we can train someone and create an incredible human being and create an incredible service provider, and they do leave, that's just going to make this industry much more profitable, more successful, more, less stigmatized. And I appreciate that question a lot. And I just kind of go back to being like 23 and working at an agency. And it really gave me, the confidence and the self-worth to start my own agency. And now I'm running a successful marketing agency in the space. And I really, think back to that leader to be, insightful enough and brave enough to train me to go take on the world. Like, I think of him highly, and I talk to him still every day, almost every day. So that's the kind of employee or manager or anybody that you want to create and mentor is that type of person. Elise, thanks so much for taking this time and like going over and for the folks that are still on the call, do you want to leave any parting words for them?
No, they reach out whenever. I mean, I'm happy to give any input, guidance, advice. If I can't do it, I may know somebody in the industry who can help you. Yeah, just reach out. Any conversation is I'm happy to help. Really.
Awesome. Yeah, Damon says claps. Thanks for
Yeah,
answering my
I
question.
saw that.
But applause to all of you for taking the time to invest in yourselves and into your teams. Thank you, Elise, for an incredible hour of great content. I would love to leave everyone with the opportunity to register for our free masterclass coming up in July with Seth here from Set Sail. He is developing an incredible, smart, data-driven, I'll say it, AI. I know maybe there's a little fatigue, but he's developing an incredible sales tool that can supplement, what HVAC businesses are doing, create a scalable, processized sales approach, and really help you scale your business. So again, thank you, Elise, and I'll leave everyone with a final opportunity to sign up for that next masterclass. We'll see you next time, Elise. Thanks.
Thanks, CJ.